This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Big request I've gotten for a tutorial is how to get Final Cut Pro to locked on stabilize a clip that was shot horizontally, but then you want it to be vertical. And every time it happened, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, just go do it. It just does it. It does it. Well, it doesn't. It literally doesn't. So this is the workaround I've found. But also, in the midst of trying to create this video, I realized like I'm just not happy with the amount of impreciseness that Final Cut gives us when it tries to do its tracking. And I thought, why don't I just dive into Resolve real quick, see how easy it is to get this effect in Resolve, and then I can always just bring that clip back into Final Cut. And let me tell you, it is incredibly easy. Resolve is free. You can just download it, do this to the clip that you need it to be done to, and then bring it back into Final Cut if that's where you're used to editing. So I'm gonna show you how to do that as well. Okay, first things first, let me show you the workaround to get that landscape to portrait or horizontal to vertical just within Final Cut. Open Final Cut, make a new library. Now this is the classic, the clip that made this technique popular, which was a Beats commercial, I believe. Headphone in my ear. So it's really nice, it's high contrast, makes it easier for any program to track. So I'm gonna set an endpoint here. I'm doing a little jog down the alley. And then right there, I'm gonna set an out point. And then I'm just gonna right click on that clip, hit new project. This is land to port. 4K, 24p. So a couple things about when you're shooting this. You want as much space around the outside of the object that you're tracking as possible, basically, without getting so far away that when you zoom in, it's gonna get too pixelated up. So shoot in 4K and then give yourself around 20% of space around the outside of the frame that you want to finish with. So a good practice actually on this is storyboarding. Like, what do you want your final frame to be? Give yourself an image of that and then kind of back up and capture that much footage around the outside, because now not only are we gonna have to crop in just to do this effect, but also we're cropping in the sides to go from horizontal to vertical. So you're gonna need space. You got your clip in the timeline, just bring the volume down because you don't wanna be dealing with volume that whole time. I am going to hit this little button here to hide the browser. That is important for later, so do that. First thing I'm gonna do, go right up here to scale and turn that immediately to -120. And the reason we're going negative, I've tried to explain this better every time I've made this video. The reason we're going negative is that we are taking the frame of this video and we are moving it around. That is what this effect is doing. And the way to move it is the opposite of the way the object in frame is moving, the object that we want to locked on stabilize. So if that object moves up, we want to move the frame down the same amount. If that object moves over, we want to move the frame back that same amount. We're canceling out the motion of the video by moving the frame around. So you can, of course, manually do this, but what we're going to do is use the built-in object tracker to be able to automate the process. The reason we need it to be negative is because we're trying to get the opposite motion of the object in the frame. When we track this clip, we're gonna get the opposite motion of the headphone. And then we're gonna take that data, apply it to the same clip. So now when the headphone moves to the left, the clip is gonna cancel that motion out. It's gonna move back to the right. That's what we're doing right here. That's why this works. So it's upside down and it is mirrored. We're gonna go down to the bottom. We're gonna click on the plus right here on this tracker. That's gonna add a tracker, and now just use these handles to reposition the tracker, put it right over the headphone. So what I've found is to make it as precise as possible, you want this to be pretty small. You want the tracker to be pretty small, okay? So I'm gonna actually zoom in here in the viewer to 200, and then move this over so it's right on my ear. And again, I'm just going to try to get this thing right on the headphone. I want it to be pretty small. All right, so once it's there, I am going to come up here to the top left and hit Analyze. And if you click in the middle of this Analyze button, it's gonna analyze it both forwards and backwards. Okay, that's done. So now this light blue here, it means it has the tracking data. And remember that it is tracked the opposite of the directions that this headphone is actually traveling in space. Now that that's done, I'm going to hold Option, and I'm going to click on the clip and just slide it up to the top. That's going to make a duplicate of it. With that top clip selected, just to make sure you're not messing anything up, go here in the inspector down to trackers and right click next to the tracker that we just created and delete that tracker. So now there's only one tracker in existence and it is on that bottom clip. Okay, let's zoom back out in our viewer to fit. Actually, let's even go a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna go to 25%. Now what we're gonna do is take this mirrored clip and we're going to apply that opposite tracking data to it. Hit the transform modifier over here in the bottom left. I'm gonna come over here next to tracker. And if you don't see this, again, you gotta close your browser because you basically just don't have enough space here for this to pop up. So close your browser. If it still doesn't pop up, toggle the transform modifier on and off. And then come over here, that arrow next to tracker, and right next to tracker where it currently says none, go down and click on object track. And then what we're gonna do is just turn off the rotation because rotation doesn't normally work right with this method. So uncheck rotation. So once we've done that, you can see here that if I hit done, take away some of those grids. You can see what we have is basically a tracked shot where the headphone is in essence staying pretty much in the same spot. I'd say it does an 80% good job. Now, here's where the workaround part comes in, because remember, we wanted this thing vertical. What we're gonna do is create a compound clip. So I just hit Command A, and then I'm gonna right click and hit new compound clip, and just call that horizontal. Great, so there's a new compound clip. I'm gonna turn my inspector back on, go over here and right click on my event, and then hit new project, and I'm gonna make that vertical. Gonna change that back to 4K. Now I can hide my browser again. So now what I wanna do is go back to my horizontal tracked version, hit Command C, and that's gonna just copy that compound clip, come over here to my vertical version, and hit Command V. The shortcut for me to zoom in on the timeline is C, so I tap C to just be able to zoom in on the timeline. So there you can actually see the frame kind of jumping up and down there. It gives you a little bit of another visualization of how this effect is actually working. Because we're within a compound clip, it's not gonna mess up the tracking if we change the scale of this thing. So two ways, you could just scale it up. You could scale it up like that if you want to. What I like to do is actually go down here to spatial conform and hit fill first. And that just basically brings it up to the top and bottom. I'm gonna hit the transform modifier just to make sure that that's true, to bring that down to 12.5%. So you can see it basically just like lines the top and the bottom up. It's filling the frame. That's what fill is doing. Then I'm gonna come up here to my transform and just slide the X the whole way over. My head is in the middle of the clip, and then we're gonna watch that again. So there it is, there's your effect. That went from horizontal to vertical, right? Quick word about the sponsor of the video, Squarespace. With the new Fluid engine from Squarespace, making the website of your dreams has never been easier. You start out with this professionally designed template. You don't need to know how to code, already made for you. And then you can tweak it using this brand new UI, drag and drop, very easy to use. Your website is gonna work on both desktop and mobile, which is absolutely crucial. You can schedule appointments through your site, offer private sessions, coaching calls, workshops. And then when you're ready to make some tweaks and improvements, the analytics suite inside Squarespace is second to none. If you want to try it out, go to squarespace.com/CodyWarner, and then when you're ready to buy, use the code CodyWarner to get 10% off your first purchase of a domain or website. So if you're happy with that, if that looks good on your footage, then you can be done watching the video. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next one. If you want something that looks more like this, I'm gonna take you into Resolve. Just stick with me though, okay? It's fine, it's just another little program. There are a bunch of pages and modules and stuff, but I'm gonna walk you through it step by step. Like, keep in mind, I have never edited in Resolve. Maybe 30 minutes in my life in Resolve. I forget it every time. When I opened it up for this project, I had zero idea how to use it. So I'm gonna walk you through it step by step, okay? So Google DaVinci Resolve download, get the free version. You might have to make an account, I don't know. And then let's open it up, so Resolve. it takes longer to open up than Final Cut. So strike one for Resolve, you know, but we knew that. That's fine, we knew that. It takes forever though. Like I literally was like, is my computer frozen? I'm not used to my M1 chip moving this slowly, but that's what happens. Click on New Project. Just call it Stabilize. Hit Create. Never skip your updates. Always get new. Always get your updates. Now, down here in the bottom, you have all of these different windows to work in. Resolve users love this stuff down here. They love it. And I probably would too if I was them. But it says no clips in the media pool. Add clips from media storage to get started. So what I'm just going to do is go up here to File and hit Import and hit Media. All right, we're going to grab that clip that we want. Boom, it's in there. It's for some reason more saturated than it is in Final Cut, which I think is weird, but I don't know, is what it is. All right, so then we're going to go down to the Edit pane, which is right down here. Tap on the Edit pane and then just drop that into the timeline. All right, look at it. It's simple. It's easy, right? It's there. It's fine. Don't even worry about it. It's right there. Okay, once you're there, highlight that clip, so just tap on it, and go down here to this magic wand looking thing, which is the Fusion panel. All right, now we're in the Fusion panel. This is where the modules come in, and they love their modules, which I love too, I guess, now that I'm in here. This is our clip right here. So you can kind of skim through this. It does not skim nearly as well as Final Cut skims, but that's fine. And I'm just gonna go right to that spot where I wanna start tracking from, which is right after I look there. And I'm just gonna click it. I'm gonna go down here to where it says Media in 1. And I'm going to hit Shift Space. Then I'm going to type track. Boom. So there's one called Planar Tracker. Don't use that one. Just use this one called Tracker. So tap on Tracker and then hit Add. So what it did is it made this little module situation. So it's going from the media into the tracker. Come over here to the right-hand side, which is the inspector. So that's similar. That's similar to Final Cut. In adaptive mode, click Best Match. All right. Now, the tracker is actually right up here. It actually came on the screen. It's this green thing. So when you click it, it actually starts resizing it. What you need to click is this little square here, and then pull that down. It gives you a little zoom in, which I like, +1 for Resolve. Pull that down, put it right on the object that you want to track. What we're going to do now is change this to 200%, because again, we want it to be super precise. The way that I navigate around this pane is like 2 fingers on my trackpad. You could probably use a scroll wheel if you're using a mouse, not a mouth. And then get over here. So again, you can kind of just click on the tracker to be able to size it down and get it kind of right where you want it. There is this also dotted box that's around there, and we're also going to want to make that smaller. So, you know, get it pretty well on the object that you want to be tracking. Again, like don't give it too much room for error to like jump over to a different part of your face or whatever. And then let's put this back at fit. We are at the spot that we want to track from. So what I'm going to do is hit this button right here, which is track forward from current time. All right, hit that. You're gonna watch it work, and you're gonna see it's doing a good job. You know, I'm jumping up and down in that frame, and it's tracking me. And it's gonna, it's gonna take a little time, and that's fine. So I can hit stop. Are you sure you wish to stop? This will cancel the current render. Yes. So, but you can see here, it got all of this tracking data, right? So let's go back to here. There, again, you can see all of that tracking data that it got. Now we're going to tap on this thing that says Operation. And under Operation, we're going to hit Match Move. Then under Merge, right now it's foreground over background. We're just going to change that to background only. So you can see here, I have position, rotation, and scaling all still checked. And I'm going to leave it that way because that's actually the effect that I like the most. So check this out. If I play this, you can see that frame kind of bouncing around. Playback is, again, pretty choppy, but it is keeping that headphone literally like literally right in the middle of the frame for this entire time. What we could do here is actually export it out right now and then just go back and work in Final Cut, which we know and love. But it's easy enough to just get the frame kind of set here. So we might as well just tidy it up a little bit more before we get back into Final Cut. What we're gonna do is come and click on the out module from that tracker. Just click it and then hit Shift Space again and type transform. Transform and then hit add. So now it's going media to tracker to transform. Once you're in transform, kind of scroll through till you see the biggest gap of that checkered space. And once you're there, bring up the size to fill the frame. You can also bring over the clip just a little bit, just to get it closer to the center. We're gonna tidy it up completely in Final Cut, but this is gonna look pretty tidy here. So let me just go back here. Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. It's so crazy how well it's working. All right, and then we're like past where I want the track to be done. So now we have it tracked. Last thing we're gonna do is click on the little rocket ship deliver, and that is going to bring up basically just the export page. First thing you want to do on the export page is tap on the timeline and then zoom in and out. Just basically go to the beginning of where you want to start exporting from and hit the I button, which is going to set an endpoint, and then go to the end and hit the out button. So now you just set it in and out on that timeline. Again, we're used to that in Final Cut, that's fine. We just want this basically in high resolution so we can bring it back into Final Cut. Give it a location, hit save. Down here in the video format, I'm gonna change this to QuickTime, and then I'm gonna change the codec from H.264 to Apple ProRes. So it's gonna be a bigger file, but that's fine. You could leave it ProRes 422 HQ, but I'm just gonna change it to ProRes 422. Like that's much more codec than this clip needs since it was shot on my phone, but this way I know I'm not losing any quality whatsoever. Last thing I need to do is change the resolution from 1920 by 1080 to 3840 by 2160. Then I'm gonna hit add to render queue. It's saying add higher resolution renders. I'm gonna say yes, that is what I want. And then that makes it pop up over here. And I'm just gonna hit render all. It actually does a pretty fast job rendering, which I appreciate. I was prepared for it to be real-time render, but I think it's faster. I think it's faster than real time. Yeah, it's definitely faster. So once that's done, we are going to go back into our beloved Final Cut Pro and open the browser back up, right-click on your event, hit import media, tracked resolve. So that's the one that we just made. There again, here we're in Final Cut, and now it's like much less saturated. It's very weird. Very weird. Leave files in place, import selected. So there's that tracked resolve. Again, just pop that down into your vertical project that you already created. Now again, we're going to do that same thing. Let me just close the browser. Let me change this to fit so we can see it a little bit better. And then let me change this to spatial conform. So video thing is selected. Go down to spatial conform and change that to fill. That's gonna bring it up to completely fill it. And let me just, I start here. All right, so here is my tracked clip from Resolve. Check this thing out. And I'm actually gonna scale it up even a little bit more. And then just to show you, just to illustrate how good of a job this thing just did, let me turn on Show Horizon. And let me line up that headphone exactly with the very center of that. Look at this. Now that, my friends, is locked on stabilization. Never used Resolve before in your life, and you just did that. That was cool. Taylor Swift just started playing in my pocket. I don't know why, but it felt good because like it was at a climactic moment too. And just in case you want to see how to export this thing, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to hit the R key, which brings up my range selection tool. I'm going to tap on that clip that we have in here because I only want to just export this. Then I'm going to hit on this. I'm going to hit this little arrow right here, which is the share arrow, and then hit share Apple devices 4K. And I will just leave that at faster I'll put this up at 2160 by 3840. You can see it's only 9 megabytes. Like this, if this is for Instagram, something like that. Hit next, and then hit save. Just say done. Hit save on that. That is how you export that. I told you that because when I was watching the tutorials on how to track stuff in Resolve, they didn't do the export. I had to figure out that rocket ship by myself. You know what I'm saying? All right. So just in case you're coming from Resolve to Final Cut, maybe that's you. I don't think so. I don't think it is. All right. Thanks so much for being here. Go out and make something. I want to see your lockdown stabilization stuff, whatever you're doing with this stuff. I've seen some amazing stuff that people are doing it. I would love to see it. Tag me in the comments or something. And yeah, thanks so much for being here.